Hi Deb, how you doing? So I've got your presentation lined up here, and let's get started. Okay, so you have your right. Yeah, I think it would be best right now. I'm just going to go through the actual presentation itself because at this point now, I think we should have pretty much covered all the research and preliminary stuff. So I'll just talk strictly about presentation as it relates to design. Okay, so you've got your cover page here, and what you're doing on your cover page here, whether you realize it or not, is you're setting up a three-column grid, which can be a derivative of anything, any multiple of three. So you could have everything. You could have a 12-column grid here, but like I said, you've got these two equal sized images, and then this white space that indicates that, okay, three-column grid. So I've noticed, so that's your basic grid. And if you haven't really studied up on grid and how to use it, I highly recommend it. I think it makes such a marked improvement in student designer work. Basically what it is you just take a grid and you lay it over your work. Every single page. You don't see it. You can't print it. But it's a way that, you would have like 12 horizontal lines or whatever, however your grid is, and 15 vertical lines or 16 vertical lines or however it is, so that you know that placement. Okay, so there would be one of the modules in your grid. Okay, so this grid would be just composed of all these vertical and horizontal boxes, and you can place, you would select to place your stuff, starting in this corner of each box. Okay, and then that would indicate alignment vertically and horizontally, and it would also indicate by the number of boxes that you use, it would also be mathematically harmoniously correct, seeing that each grid is based on the same underlying foundation. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is this typeface. This is really casual, and I understand the basic background of the town and its roots and its blue collar logging roots. So in a way, I think this is a really interesting typeface. I think that it might be a little too casual for the actual project. One thing I want to take a look at also, if we take a look here, you've got this design element here, but as you can see right here, these cross hatches are starting to form these other patterns, and I don't think you want that. There's a way that if you want to use those, you can adjust those. I don't think you need them. Let's just go back to full-size page. I don't think you need this horizontal and rule cross hatches. I think they're interfering basically with the way the page breathes within itself. Okay, so here we have, if we go over to the page view, I want to go to the page view because I want you to see something here. Okay, let's jump that out and let's take a look at the pages. Now you can see these little page thumbnails. This right now you've broken the grid on the second page. Okay, so if we can see, and you can see by the size of your columns. Okay, see how that column is more narrow than that column, and we can see that as we go through the pages. So that is something that you would definitely want to create some consistency in from page to page. Likewise, as we can see here in the thumbnails, okay, this image is much wider than this image. So if this image here is indicating that it's going to take 2 columns of the 3-column grid, then by all means it should, because what you're doing is you're starting to affect the width and shape of your type boxes. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, this type box, see how it's basically, it's basically that shape there. Okay, and then if we come to the next page, we can see that the type box shape size changes. Boy, I wish there was an easier way. Acrobat sure doesn't make it easy to demonstrate the way they used to. I don't know what happened to Acrobat, but I'm not happy. Anyways, so we have that consistency in our type presentation, including character count and width, text box width. Okay. Everything is looking pretty good. It looks like over here, okay, if you look at the distance between the top of the page and the X height, and then we go to the next page, that's different. Okay, so that would need to be consistently paced from page to page. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and say this. This type here looks like it's almost been altered to fit that area. I can see it almost in the shape of the O. And yeah, see how that's elongated? Did you actually change the original scale of that without maintaining or constraining its proportions? It looks like you did. And again, I can see the difference here in the shape of the O. Perhaps I'm wrong. It could be a way the PDF was rendered, but this image here is really dark. I would put that in Photoshop and lighten it up using a levels adjustment layer and bring out some of the detail in the darker areas of the trees. The mission statement, I think this is really important to understand, Deb. The mission statement here is not to celebrate and refocus outdoor culture and recreation through the Olympics. That's not the mission. The mission here is to develop a branding program for a bid holding the Olympics in the city of your choice. That's really, really important. Otherwise, you're diluting the intent of the presentation. So that's critical. Remember this, your mission. What is your mission? It's not the mission of the project, as it were. It's the mission of your contribution to the project. As a designer in this particular assignment, it's your tasked with developing a branding logo and collateral sheet, design narrative, as it were, and based on the location that you're bidding for the Olympics. Okay, so that's really super important. Potential opportunities. You've got the headline here, and then you got the headline here again. And any way we can continue that? I think basically your type is, if you were to print out one of these pages, let me just do something real quick. We are at, oh, these pages are tiny. This is 5.5 by 11. I did not realize this. These are very, very small pages. This, I guess, is going to be strictly a electronic presentation. You're not going to print this, I am assuming, because these are really small pages. At any rate, based on the size of the page, the relationship of this text to the size of the page in general, I think it's too big. I think you could definitely, first of all, I know there's 2 or 3 paragraphs in here. I know there are. So it's always better to try to give little bits of type as opposed to, okay, I'm just going to draw right here. Pretend this picture's not here, but instead of a type block that looks like that, okay, it would be preferential to give a type block that would have the headline, then the first paragraph, then the next paragraph. Do you know what I'm saying? Instead of one solid block. It's less daunting on the viewer. This rule right here, again, I'm just not understanding because it's cutting your page in two. It's like almost saying, okay, this part over here is in jail and it can't get out, and it can't get out here to play with the rest of its mates. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, over here we can see that these are really losing their visibility. So I would recommend against this particular presentation. I'm not saying you can't use solid colors on your logo. I'm saying this presentation, specifically the blue, is rendering the logo almost invisible. Rethink that. Your logo presentation, remember, you should always have clear distance around your logo presentation. So give it room to breathe. Don't ever place things in close proximity to your logo in a presentation setup. I would prefer to see the CMYK RGB equivalents of these. And also, if you're going to screen back, also give the screened back version of the colors as well. So as, in other words, if this is CMYK blah, 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 this would be 60% if you're showing it over here. See what I'm saying? You're not leaving anything up to the imagination. Pictograms, I think I've been talking about the pictograms for a while, so I'm going to leave these alone. You can go back and extract comments from the pictograms from throughout the weeks. Tickets look good. We talked about this, presenting the logo on its side. I don't think that would be allowed to happen. I also would suggest that you design your tickets with a solid one grid in mind. In other words, right here you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different layouts for your tickets. Okay, wouldn't it make more sense to have the same layout for each ticket, and then the only thing you would have to change is the location and the pictogram, right? Production-wise, it seems like it would be less expensive. Advertising and signage look good. I just noticed an inconsistency in type. Take a look at the size, the scale, and the point size of that, and then all of a sudden down here it seems to grow, get bigger, and the kerning and leading are opened up considerably there. Here you have these images that have been stretched. Okay, so this logo here has clearly been stretched. You can see clearly the Olympic rings are stretched. You don't want to do that. You don't ever want to try to force an image into a allotted space by stretching it. If you have to do that, it's a really solid indication that you need to find a new image. Likewise, this logo here has been stretched. You can see as it's oblong now, or it's more of an oval as opposed to a circle. This is the first presentation that we've shown of the bear, and I'm not real sure, that just kind of popped into things, and so did this side, the branches. So there's no real priming your audience. In other words, okay, this means what up here in your and how was that developed, and how does that fit in to the scheme of things, so to speak. Okay, good references, good job. Any questions at all, comments, concerns, anything, please feel free to get with me. Okay, thanks, Deb, good job.